All right. My beautiful, dear, acclaimed listeners and watchers, whatever you're watching, listening to this, I have an extremely exciting guest today. Her name is Patrice, and she's coming all the way from LA. And she is a client or a student, I don't even know how to call it, a beautiful woman who's part of our claimed community. She's been in the program for quite some time, and I'm delighted, Patrice, that you decided to accept my invitation, come to this podcast and really share the results of this work. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's honestly an honor. It feels kind of like, meeting with the head honcho, the boss, like the big deal when you're talking with Anna.
Right.
So I'm going to try and keep it together, everybody, and
Oh
act
my
like I
God.
have some sense.
Yeah, sometimes I talk to some women, when we're on discovery calls, and obviously I'm not doing all the discovery. And I think we didn't do ours, Patrice. You
Yeah.
were with somebody
No,
else on the phone, and they're like,
that's right.
when I might send them a personal message, they're like, "Oh, is this really Anna?" Like, "Oh," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah," and I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely.
You're a big deal.
Well, I'm not. Stop it. I mean, yeah, of course, like because I have a podcast and I'm the founder of the program, there's this whole vibe. But, Patrice, I always say in the program and everywhere, like, I'm not interested in having like a cult personality. I'm not your guru. In fact, I just want to be behind the scenes, to be honest, because this is not about me. This is about the work and the process, and this is all about you. And my focus is not on me, but on a woman like you, and how can I deliver the results that have been promised in our discovery call. And so, yeah, it's just, but obviously because of the position and who I am, I guess, and
Yeah,
I'm the founder, but it's like there's this
exactly.
vibe, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm just a woman just like you, just maybe walking ahead 2-3 steps with
Yes,
men,
you are. You are.
So that's
You
it.
are. You are.
Yeah. Patrice,
Yes.
give me a moment. I'm actually going to change my network. I forgot to do that in the beginning, but that shouldn't affect anything because
Sure.
this is going to be cut out. Just a moment.
Okay.
All right, we're back. Cool. So let's continue. So,
Okay.
Patrice, we're going to start with tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you actually find me and my work?
Yeah, so like you said earlier, I am based out of Los Angeles. I actually work in the entertainment industry, and so I've worked in television production for about 20 years, and I'm used to sort of that go 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 mentality. Really focused on my career throughout my 20s and my 30s. I'm actually 41, and at the same time, I'm a woman of faith as well, and I'm always interested in spirituality, and God's a big part of my life. But I hit a wall. I've been in a cycle of basically having situationships or being the friend zone princess is basically what I call it. And I was like, what is the deal? Like guys at work would maybe like flirt with me, but like men in my circles, like in my faith circles, would just be like, hey, sister, bro, dude, person. And I was just like, but I have boobs though. And like, what? No one's trying to ask me out on a date. And so basically in October of last year of 2020, I hit a wall. I was super frustrated. And I was in another sort of situationship with a guy friend of mine. It was just sort of an emotional attachment more than anything else. And I literally just spent time like I was crying, bawling my eyes out, just alone by myself. And I was in a prayer room and I literally was starting to journal. And I journaled, I was just like, I feel like my femininity has been lost and attacked. And I've never written that in my journal. Like, I don't even, that language is not even what I use. And I was just like, God, I don't have any clue. I don't even have any direction. All of sort of the mentors in my life, coaches, they had really kind things to say, but they didn't really have any like solutions or tools. And so that was October. That was towards the end of October. 2 weeks later, I come across your Facebook ad. And you literally, and some of you ladies out there probably have seen it already, or people that are in the program for sure know it, but you use the language like feminine embodiment. I've never heard that phrase in all my life. I was like, I literally wrote in my journal, I didn't talk to anyone about that phrase in particular. Like I felt like my femininity was crushed and lost and I didn't know how to reconnect to it. All these things. I didn't tell anyone about that particular aspect of it. So the fact that like that came up on my feed, it was just kind of like, huh, okay. And I was just like, who is this chick? Like,
Mm-hmm.
who is she talking about? And you gave your whole like story, your background. And I was curious. So I watched the webinar basically. And I know a lot of ladies that are listening to this right now have probably watched it or about to or what have you. And I think going into it, I was really skeptical. I was super, like a lot of ladies in your program. Like I was like, I don't want to do, even though I have followed and like relationship coaches, like I follow them on social media. I've been reading books on relationships for like decades, all this stuff. But I was like, I don't want to get relationship coach. That's ew. And I was like, it's gonna be fluff and like really woo woo, like, okay, whatever. And I get into this webinar and I think I cried like halfway through. I was
Wow.
like, for real, Patrice? Like, you're gonna start crying right now? Because the language that you used was like the language that my heart needed to hear. And you put language, I think, to what a lot of women are wanting and have been afraid to say that they really want. And you are so kind. You create such an atmosphere of like no judgment. You have women of all walks of life. It wasn't really like, I never even thought about, if there was like other Black women in this program or other women of color. I was just like, there are women of like all different backgrounds. I had looked on your like testimonial page, like afterwards. And I was just like, I need to actually pray about this and consider this. Like, this is so outside of my comfort zone in all ways. But after the webinar, the Facebook ad, the webinar, I decided to do this discovery call. It was not with you, as you said, and it was with Ashley, I believe. And I cried, I think,
All right, hang on. I'm just going to interrupt you for a moment. This is an amazing story. You're like pulling me in. No wonder you work in TV production, because I'm like, what happened next? So I'm going to ask you about the discovery call, but I have a few questions here, yeah. Patrice. So let's stop here for a moment. So first up, can you describe what's a situationship? I think it's a term that we use inside. It might be a lingo that we use, but a lot of women wouldn't probably know. So please describe to us what is that state of a situationship?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it can be basically defined as you are hanging out with a guy that's not defining you or claiming you in any sort of way. And so you can have either a sexual tie to this guy, you can have an emotional tie, and you're just hanging out, but there's nothing that's sort of defined. There's no boundaries. And in many cases, for me, I can only speak for me, I just didn't feel like I was getting what I wanted or needed in the relationship. And I now have language for like what I was available for or what I'm available for. I'm not available for sort of a part-time, undefined, et cetera type of relationship. I wanted to be in a committed relationship. And I think often for me, my situationships involved a lot of men that looked maybe masculine on the outside, but really operated in their feminine. And I'm used to, as you can tell, as I'm pummeling through this story and kind of like going ahead and being really A-type and let me get it done, I was transferring that to my relationships with men in general, not even just guys that I was romantically interested in, but it was men in general. So a situationship, basically is like this, I would say this undefined, uncommitted thing where I feel like for me as a woman, I'm giving out an emotional connection or even a physical connection and not getting what I feel like anything in return or even any availability from the man, like emotionally, he can stay really unattached and live his life and date other girls and see other women and what have you. But we have nothing really that is meaningful, at least for me.
Yeah. So a situationship, and I wrote an article about this and actually recorded a podcast episode, is what you've just described. So it's that limbo state that I know so many women end up being in. It's like where things are unclear, where if you have to ask yourself, what is this? Like, I'm seeing this guy for a few months and I'm sleeping with him, but I'm not sure, are we in a relationship or are we not? This is a situationship. And what we highly advise, and when we work in the program together, is very much getting clear on what this is, and then taking some action steps to get out of the situationship, because the situationship is not a very good place to be. So yeah, so you were in situationships, Patrice, and you also, I love this Friendzone princess, which we're going to talk about. I'm very curious for you to tell us more about what was the journey for you to get out of those two kind of, the friend zone and the situationship princess. But a few questions here in terms of what was your situation when you were, in that state before you found my work and all of that. So, that phrase that came to you in prayer is femininity. My femininity has been lost. Why do you think that came to you? I mean, obviously there is a reason. Do you remember what triggered it? What was behind that?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. One thing that comes to mind right now is this whole idea of not feeling worthy and enough. And in that particular situationship, I felt compared to every other woman that he might have said he had an interest in or that he flirted with online with. And I just felt like, I can't compare because I don't have, I am not this, or I'm not that type of woman, and not realizing. And I mean, you talk about this in your program, we as women have our own unique feminine essence, our own unique feminine flavor. And I think really the language, I didn't have it at the time, right, when I said this prayer, but I think really what I was looking for was my flavor. Like what, I don't need to be everybody's flavor, but I you know what I mean? But like, what's my flavor? And I can honestly tell you now, I know my flavor and it's amazing. And for the guy that gets to partake in this flavor, you're going to be blessed. You're going to be a happy man. Okay. If you don't get this, I'm sorry for you. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll get to that flavor. I want a taste of that, Patrice. I'm really curious, how does that taste? But we're going to get to that in a moment. Yeah, so you're saying that you didn't have the language around it, you didn't feel worthy, and it was all it led you back to, I guess, your femininity or your womanhood, or who am I as a woman, really. And I guess maybe would you say that was really about you losing the path back to you, to yourself, to your soul as a woman, to your body as a woman. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Absolutely. And then I'm curious about this part, because I think a lot of women are in that stage where they've read a lot of relationship books. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. They follow a lot of relationship coaches, right? Like what you said, and very skeptical. You said something about woohoo and fluff, and so I'm curious about how. Well, you said this was different. Well, you started crying. Well, that's a good sign. You said this was different because it gave you the language around it. So I'm just curious. Why, Patrice, you haven't taken action on other stuff out there, as you were following relationship coaches and you were reading the books, but then this spoke to you on some sort of another level, and why you took action here and not, let's say, with any other relationship coach that's out there.
Yeah, I love that question. I was actually thinking about that this morning. You are the only relationship coach that I know of that I at least discovered that was actually in a committed relationship and had family, had the, not that,
what?
That, I'm serious, because if I look at a lot of I won't name any names, but if I look at some of the popular male relationship coaches, a lot of them either they kind of don't talk about their personal relationships because they're still dating, but they're not in committed. They don't have necessarily a family life that they're navigating. And I wanted to know, how does someone maintain polarity? Now knowing that word, but polarity, romance, their femininity, once you sort of are in a committed relationship. And I saw what really was one of the clinchers for me, Anna, with you is you showing images of you and your man and your baby. And it was and not that has to be the end goal for everyone.
That always works, Patrice.
Listen. I was just she's actually living it. She's actually living the other side of this romance, polarity, femininity thing. She's actually living it, where she's not just coaching me on these these tools and what have you, and these good ideas, she's actually showing us like fruit that she's actually like partaking in this season. And I can't find a lot of relationship coaches that, and you're really open, like you're pretty much an open book, and you kind of let us into your life in certain ways. But at least for me, some of the relationship coaches that I followed over the years, especially men, and a lot of them are still single. Like I would find out when I would start doing digging, they have these incredible wisdom and insights and revelation in terms of like relationships, and you should do this, and you can do this to flirt, and you can do this to like make sure he never wants to leave your side, or he'll text you back, and all these things. But like these guys, when you do a little digging into their lives, these coaches are single. These men are still trying, and I give them that. That's beautiful. Like they're still putting themselves out there and wanting to find a relationship. But for you stand out completely because you are actually in a committed relationship with a masculine man, and you also have a child. And I mean, I think you're having more children too. I don't want to so anyway. But yeah, and so to me, that was like completely different than anyone else that's out there. And that for me was like, I want to give this a try as well.
Yeah, well, I actually didn't think about this. It's really interesting because I think that like the dating and the relationship coaching industry is kind of piled together, dating and relationships. It's one thing when you just do kind of position yourself as a dating coach, right? And then it's like, all right, you're single, you're dating. But then the dating part of it eventually would lead to something, or has to lead, although we say this is not the goal, right? Like have fun and,
Yeah, exactly.
But then, and I've been actually thinking about this a lot. And in fact, in the circles that I am in, sometimes dating coaches ask this question, if I'm a dating coach or a relationship coach, does that mean that I have to be in a relationship, And it's really interesting, Patrice, because and some say not really, if you can help your clients have the success that they want. Some say, well, yes, because then you have to live what you're preaching, right? And there's this kind of sort of area there because, as you know, yes, I am using the pictures of me and my man, but in a lot of the stuff, Patrice, as you know, I don't focus on him. Like that's another thing that I see a lot and there are relationship coaches who are married, and maybe you're right. Like because I actually deliberately do not get myself involved in any sort of like what's happening in my industry, because I don't want to be influenced by it and so on and so forth. But there's this whole thing. I also don't, like if you look at my Instagram, you won't find many pictures of me and my man together, while a lot of other women, for example, relationship coaches, that would be the picture. Like, here's my man, and here is my baby. I mean, it works. I'm doing Facebook ads with a baby in it, and it really works. And the second one is coming, so I can't wait to put her or him in the picture. Because it works. You're right. It's like here's what I want. This woman is living it, and I'm gonna go and explore that option. But at the same time, and I think this is an important point for everybody listening, as you know, Patrice, I always talk about it is not about the man. It is about you, and I've seen actually some relationship coaches that were so focused on their relationship and their work has been so centered around their relationship and their man. And then guess what happened at some point in time? Their relationship actually dissolved for one reason or another. Or, my man can get hit by a bus tomorrow. And then I'd be like sitting there and being like, all right, So, it's a really interesting. And I have done this intuitively, actually. And, well, part of this is because my man hates taking photos of himself and of me. I'm like, can we take one selfie, please? But another part is it's just not part of it, because as you know, in my work, it's all about you as a woman, your feminine flavor. How can I help you get the tools and the philosophy and the language? I love that you really focus on the language. That's my next question. So that you can create polarity and sustainability long-term in your relationships with men right from the beginning, from the dating stage until you move forward. And guess what? I don't know what's going to happen with me and my man. Who knows? I mean, obviously, I'm hoping that we're going to be together forever, but who the hell knows? But I know that no matter what happens, I'll be okay because I have the tools. And I know, and if you've seen our Facebook group now, Patrice, women get into relationships with amazing, committed, masculine men, never experienced them before. And then 4 or 5 months later, things can happen.
That's right.
And so that's why I don't consider that. I never, the goal of the program of us working together is not to get you into a relationship and is not to get you engaged, because you can do it like that. Like you can walk out on the street, especially now that you know your feminine flavor so well, you can get into a relationship in a second. There's men lining up. But that's not what this is about. You want to be in a relationship with a particular kind of man, and a particular, with a particular dynamic. So anyways, I just wanted to point that out. So before we go forward, let's talk about that language. Because you said, you mentioned language a few times, and you said something really important, that in the webinar, by the way, those who haven't watched it, girlskill.com/webinar, go and watch it now. So you said that in the webinar, you heard language around what you and so many women always wanted, but perhaps didn't have the words for. So tell me more about that language and what it is that you've always wanted, but didn't have the words for.
Oh my goodness. I mean, when you do some incredible deep dives into polarity, and the feminine and the masculine, and just kind of at least giving us some framework and some things. And I think I didn't have any sort of language even to describe sort of that essence, what would sort of be just, in the program, you talk about feminine essence, masculine essence. And then I would, talk to guy friends afterwards. I would talk to girlfriends afterwards and say, does this list resonate with you in terms of needs and priorities? And I tested this out, and,
oh, wow.
And literally every guy that I asked, they said basically 90% of that list resonated. And for women, the same. And so So
what's the list? What is the list you're talking about? Like the one where feminine essence is like chaos?
Yeah, I had my notes. It was like needs and priorities, like the need for like the masculine to feel free, like for freedom. And then like for the feminine, the flow, how we are flowing, how the man is sort of represented by the mountain or moving, the stability, or the mountain. And so this kind of imagery just made it, I don't know, for my cells and my bodies, I'm very visual in that way. So those types of things in the program really helped as you're showing us like, photos and pictures that sort of really go along with these concepts and with the words. But language, I think too, was such a big thing because and the tools that you give us, and we sort of embody a lot of those things first, right? But then you show us, you give us direction, you help to facilitate ways in which we can use language to communicate to our men. And the very first thing I think I asked when I first joined the program, when I was coming out of my situationship, and I love the Facebook group, by the way, it's popping. The women are there, are incredible, amazing. And I asked, I was like, so basically, what do I say? Like, I'm feeling for this guy. My heart is attached. What do I even say that is in alignment with polarity? And you said, hey, well, this is some suggestions. You don't have to do this or not. But if I, were in this situation, I would say, and I just need examples, and then I can kind of sort of, what feels true to me. And then I can go from there. And I did. And the language that I use, I was like, hey, you're a great guy, but this is what I'm available for. And this is what I want. But it doesn't seem like you can give that to me in this season. And that's totally fine. And, blah, 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 whatever type of sandwich, I did at that moment. And that, from that one text message, made things super clear. It shifted the dynamic between my friendship with this guy. He was ready to sort of release me, but like fully, I was able to just like, okay, But that was just like a little example of the language that I didn't have, even not just in concepts, learning femininity and polarity and masculine essence, but literally, Anna, of how to, like, this sounds so like kiddish, but how to use our words to like be in a relationship, use our words. Like, I felt like I learned how to use my words as an adult lady. I'm grown, but I just felt like this was the first time I could use my words to like really express like what I'm not okay with or what I want. And in the webinar, I think you asked me this too, like in terms of like the language of what women are really resonating with. And you talk about this a lot. You talk about this in your podcasts and all the things, but like women that are in art, like you really cater to like high driven, women in like a variety of different fields. And I think too, like the lie of like female success, you kind of address that and you kind of just like grab it at the, what, and you just kind of go for it. And I think that having a woman that like you are strong, you are soft, but you are strong. And I think it's so important for us as women, like, at least for me, it was so important and mind blowing to see that in you. Like you were strong, like you're kicking butt, you're doing this thing, but you've cultivated the skill of being soft and tender. And it comes out in the language that you use. I mean, that's how I'm communicating with you right now. Right. And I'm so used to sometimes just being in my head, all the stuff, we feeling all the emotions, all the things. But you somehow with these tools and us listening to our body, like there's just not only am I gathering language from you, but I find that there's new language now coming out of me from that place.
So beautiful. I love that you took that list and you showed it to men and you showed it to women. And because to be honest with you, Patrice, this is so true for me and has, through the years, obviously I've refined it, but this truth is this is an embodied truth that then and a lot of the things I think that you're describing through the program and how you resonate with the material, this material that I present, the podcast and whatever we're talking about here, the program, my coaching is embodied. And that's what's missing, I feel, in a lot of everything out there, like embodiment in general could be applied to so many different fields. I'm like, this should be in business and this should be in marketing,
Seriously.
like everywhere.
Seriously.
Because
yes.
when you do embody it, and I feel that because you feel that within me, because I'm not sitting here reading you some copy paste thing that I've read somewhere. Obviously, I've gathered this material. I wasn't born with it or whatever. Obviously, it's lived through my own experience in my own body. But I have studied this extensively. Like as I did ask men a lot of questions. Does this resonate? How does it feel? What do you want? And then through observation, I've tested this and tried this time and time again. And now, I've probably spoken to more than 1,000 women. I've asked them this question: how do you want to feel in the relationship, deep down inside, right? And when you said, I think what I always wanted, most women say, I want to feel safe, I want to feel taken care of, and I just want to surrender and let go of control. That's what women want, and nobody's talking about it. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? It's all about, know what you want and have the checklist and be the lady boss and whatever.
Yep.
We're all playing this game, but it doesn't make us happy. And to me, that was the answer to, hang on a second, the lie of female success, the more successful you become, the less happy you are in relationships. So like, what the hell is wrong here? So yeah, I love that you're sharing that. And the language, by the way, for everybody listening, what Patrice is talking about is when she communicates that sandwich or whatever, this is all boundaries. So we work with this in the program. And also, Patrice, I think you didn't mention this, but a lot of the times how we help women articulate what they want is through putting a focus on their feelings as well, right? So it's like, you're a great guy, you're giving them the shit sandwich, you're a great guy, but this is what I'm available for. This is how I feel when that doesn't happen. And then you end up with something positive. So, all right, moving on. Patrice, so tell us what happened on the discovery call, because we're very, very curious. And then why did you sign up to the program?
Yeah, so the discovery call, you just mentioned, you asked, like, what do you want to feel, And I love asking now, like, people that in general, like, because we don't think of that question, like, what do you want to feel when you get this, when you get $1 million, whatever, and I was asked that in my discovery call, and then taken into like a bit of a drop in, and through that process, and I was starting to reconnect for the first time in a really long time with what I really wanted, and the feeling of what that would be like, and connecting then with those feelings. So I think it's one thing to say, this is what I want to feel, but I think too, like, a part of embodiment is when your body starts to feel those things and it starts to respond. And I mean, I grew up dancing. I've been a dancer. I've been in the creative like realm for pretty much my entire life. And so I knew the power of movement. I knew the power of emotion, but had never made that connection in terms of like asking that powerful question in the midst of like a drop in the midst of something that was so deliberate and intentional in that moment. And so it took me, I think I ended up saying to Ashley the time, the lady that was doing my discovery call, that I wanted to feel at rest. I wanted to feel like to stop striving. I felt like I was just pushing. And I just, when I get with my man, I just want to feel at ease, at home. Of course, I said all like the key words that you have, that you know about, like, I want to feel safe. I want to feel provided for. I said all those things. Like, yeah, totally basic, not basic, but like I totally said all those things. But I said I wanted to feel rest because I just felt I was pushing so hard, to get somebody to love me, right? To get this ideal to love me. And then I was sort of led or guided in that discovery call to sort of like feel the edges of like what that could feel like to feel safe or to feel like right. And I just remember that's when I started crying. That's when the tears, I mean, I wasn't trying to cry. It just happened. And then I was still, though, after that call, after that experience, I was still skeptical, like, of the whole coaching situation. You would think I was like, because your girl cries pretty easily. So I just want your whole audience to know, like, listen, my emotions, they stay pretty present. But I was like, And I knew that it was an investment. I knew it was going to be time. I knew it was going to be money. I knew it was going to be these things. And it was going to be a sacrifice in certain ways for me. And so I remember telling, I think Ashley, I was just like, yeah, I don't think that what's going to happen like right now, but thank you, and she's like,
so you didn't sign up on the call. I think it was actually Becca that you talked to.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I think it was Becca. Yes. Yeah.
So you didn't sign up on the call. Well, most women sign up right there on the call, but you are the one
good
who.
Good for you ladies.
Yeah.
Good for you ladies.
Okay. Yeah.
Not Patrice. No, yeah. Anna.
And
Patrice
then?
Did not. Oh, and so I hung up and I was just like, that was incredible experience. We have a lot of incredible experience sometimes, in this journey of like, just inner growth, inner healing, wholeness, this journey that we're on, I think, a lot of us. And so I was like, that was a good experience. And then, I talked to my family about it. They knew sort of where I was at. I also own a small business. I was coaching women at the time in the realm of business. And I was just like, there's something that's not congruent. There's something that's not aligned. There's something. And I had this call. Long story short, I think Becca gave me like a day or whatever the time frame is, to still get that special, whatever deal. That special thing. I won't even say. Yeah, that's the deal.
Yeah.
And long story short, I prayed about it, talked to family. They were 110% behind me doing this. They actually helped to give finances because I want to pay it all in full. I didn't even want like a payment plan. I was just like, I wanted to fully throw myself into this. And when I had the support of like friends and family that knew, like they knew my heartbeat for relationship, they knew how I also mentor other women. And I've written a blog about relationships for over 15 years. They knew that this is not just like a Patrice is just trying to, do something cute. This was like, this is a part when I can't get into all this right now because I know we're probably getting close on time, but I felt like connecting with your program and what you do was like a convergence of so many things in my life, just from what I do with women to me being from a dancer to my love of relationships. And I feel like for a lot of women, they're going to just say like, wow, you were kind of exactly what we were waiting for. But all to say,
You make me sound like I'm some sort of relationship messiah. That came down on this world.
Perfect. Yeah, you're not. You're not. But you're not. But you're the real deal. I will say that you are the real deal, Anna. That's it. You're the real deal. And I'm not trying to blow smoke and like try to like earn any points. You have all my money now. You can just take it again if you want to. Okay.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind because I'm preparing the next offer. Okay. The next level.
Okay. Listen, lady. Huh? But yeah, I signed up in that same time frame. I took the leap. basically I came back and I was just like, I have to do this. You know, from writing in my journal to finding your ad in this miraculous way to all the things that were sort of converging in my life at that time. It was like I had to step out, and it was a risk. I could feel myself being scared to do it. I was still skeptical. Even when I said, I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is the most I've invested in myself financially for myself ever, for sure. And I was just like, okay, God, let's see what's that. Hopefully she's not a crook. Let's go.
I know. And a lot of women feel that. And, you know, sometimes we do give a money back guarantee to those women who are like, who is this Anarova on the other side of the world? Is going to take my money, run away, you know? Like, I don't know. And what you said is, for a lot of women, this is the biggest investment that they make ever in their life. And Patrice, like, you know, that's why I love this program and I love being on Discovery Calls, because of stories like yours. When I have a conversation with a woman and she's like, oh, it's so much money, or I've never done this before, like you said, and I'm like, this is exactly why you need to do this. You know, like, the journey of transformation starts on the call. Well, not for you, but for like, you already knew. You just needed some sort of confirmation, you know, from outside sources, but you actually didn't. I think you already knew, and maybe you needed a little bit of help or a gentle nudge into, can you say yes to yourself and follow what you're feeling right now in your body? And a lot of women are scared to do that on the call. That's fine. But I always say your transformation starts when you take the decision to say yes to yourself and to invest in yourself on a level that for you is like, sometimes some of these women are just, I can't believe I'm doing this. And I like, for me, this is also embodied because I have been there. Patrice, I come from a country where people make $500 a month. Like, I mean, if you'd ask me, 3 years ago, or 5 years ago, that amount of money would be just like, what? You know, and it's all a money story. That's another thing why I love doing this work, because it's a conversation about what's your money story here.
Yeah.
Is it like, how much is, you know, I speak to so many women for whom this is such a big pain in their life, such a big headache. She's been struggling with this for 10 years. And yet when it comes to, you know, $4,000 or $5,000, and I know that some women might be listening to this, it was like, what? Yeah. But think 10 years you have been struggling with this. And then, of course, Patrice, we're not even going to talk about, we've seen so many cases where women have saved plenty of thousands of dollars after doing this program. You know, if you like put together all of the dinners that you're not paying, all of the gifts you're getting, like Sonia in our program being flown to Puerto Rico for 2 weeks, hotels paid. Like living, her man is paying for her apartment in Manhattan. She's like stacking up cash every month, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that decision, and I know this because I since then have invested a lot more in myself and in the business. And so for me, I'm like, I love stories like yours because it's, and I'm saying, you know, you're taking a risk. Yes. And there's no guarantees, but I can guarantee you, if you do the work, Patrice, you're going to see results. And so this is about you. Can you invest in yourself on that level? Because once you do, it's going to literally plug you out of your current reality where you have been perhaps for a long time. Because I'm not here for comfort. I'm not here to keep you in the comfort zone. The moment you say yes, the moment you enroll into the program, invest in yourself, out of comfort zone right away. And here's what I'm here for. So I don't know if you wanted to comment on that, but I'm curious, like the next stage, I would love to hear what were your aha moments in the program and what were some of your biggest, you know, some of your transformational moments there. And of course, we're going to talk about the result of where you are now.
Yeah. Some key aha moments for me, men as mirrors and like patterns with men. And I had done a variety of different exercises, right, in the realm of like relationships and also a lot of inner healing and counseling I had done on my own. I think a lot of women too in the program have. But there was something about that combination where I was able to, I mean, I wrote everything down in my journal. And like you said, when you do the work, I mean, I was getting results when I did the work, and I wasn't trying to overthink it. I just tried to show up. And literally in that one sitting down of doing that exercise, and I didn't, module 2, which is kind of, is known as the intense. It doesn't have to be, but I'm sorry, ladies. I mean, yay, welcome.
Yeah.
But I was in that module for I think 2 months, and but because I was processing what that exercise, men as mirrors and patterns with men, like revealed, and so it showed like that I was initiating, and then we got to like, why do I feel the need to initiate? And then it was just like, oh, because I feel like I'll never get chosen. Why do you feel like you'll never get chosen, Patrice? Oh, because I feel like I'm not worthy. And why do you, oh my gosh. And so then secondly, my other aha moment, oh, sorry guys, my little speaker came out, got excited. My other aha moment was the flow, feminine flow. And a lot of women, or some women, I won't say a lot, but some of us women, like, I loved how we commented in the Facebook group that, when we were feeling sad or whatever, we would dance out our emotion or what have you, or would do, some women are into yoga or movement or other sort of movement exercises. And I've told you my background as a dancer, and I, from different instructors and teachers, would be told to kind of use the emotion, use it. But never was I given instruction of how to welcome and embody and reframe any negative emotion. So like kind of like exercise, you can kind of work out some endorphins and kind of, release some tension there. But with flow and the way that you do it, or the way that you at least guide us into it, it was an aha moment for my whole like mind, body, heart, all the things. And I guess that's probably like being embodied when it hits all levels. But like I had never been instructed in such a way to feel and welcome and reframing a feeling, reframing a belief. So I was used to moving and dancing out frustration, and I knew how to touch that place, but I didn't know how to sit in the negative emotion. I didn't know how to to stay there, and then also how to kind of reframe that and to release that. That was an aha moment. So that coupled in that, there's kind of phases I know that you kind of walk us through in the program when it comes to the flow, and you kind of increase in that. But to me, that has been hands down life-changing. So those exercises and then that practice.
Patrice, I never actually thought about this in that way, because like when women tell me dance, I internally roll my eyes because this is not a dance, Yes. Because the dance, and it is obviously kind of looks like dance, because for everybody, who doesn't know, obviously as soon as you join the program, we start with a feminine flow, which is a feminine embodiment practice, 5 minutes a day, every day. And it's building up a habit, and from that it intensifies. And as we go through different modules and milestones, we then take it further and deeper. And then we do longer flows, workshops and things like that. But, I always say this is not a dance because, first of all, you can't, there's some certain elements that are different to dance. Most importantly, I never thought about it this way because I think I never talked to actually a professional dancer. And I heard about, some of the most amazing dancers, or the best dancers, they dance their emotions, like what you said, bring it in. And so you said, I knew how to dance my frustration or express it through my body. Mm-hmm. But then I guess, and obviously this is some sort of a release anyways, right? And you can feel it. And when you watch someone do that, it actually, and that's why we go to all of these performances and we watch people move their bodies, because it evokes something in us.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that's why it's beautiful. But I guess in a way, it kind of stops there. It's like you dance your
Yep.
frustration and it provides you some sort of release. But you're right, when what feminine flow does and feminine embodiment practices, it actually gives you the language. It puts it in a tool box where you actually
Yep.
it provides you a framework and the
Yes.
language around welcoming that, sitting with that, exploring it, giving it room, giving it space, and involving all of those embodiment elements. So I love that you share this from a perspective of a dancer, and I feel like perhaps if you have been a dancer, you might have just a little bit of a different appreciation of this practice, having that perspective there and that insight. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so where are you now, Patrice? After all of the work that you have done, I'm curious what are the results that you've seen, obviously within your own self, but I'm also curious about the situationship, the Friendzone princess. Like, tell us all about that.
Oh my goodness. Everything has shifted, Anna. I mean, everything has shifted. And you kind of warn us in the beginning of this program, like your priorities with work, your career, everything is and I was just like, what's she talking about? Like, we're only talking about romance. Like, we're only talking about my love life. How is that going to affect? And girl, yeah, my whole life is now flipped upside down in the best way. So when I got to, I think midway through the program, I got asked out on, or I was on, sorry, let me back up. Got on online dating, even in the midst of COVID. I love sort of the mindset, there's no such thing basically as lack. There's abundance is everywhere, even though there might be COVID or all the things at that time, you can still meet men, quality guys. And even though I'm not necessarily a fan of online dating, I was just like, listen, Anna said, get out there. Okay, I'm gonna do it. And so, had some great feedback though too from the ladies in the group, and met some incredible guys actually online, and was flowing through this process. And for the first time in 7 years, was taken out on a legitimate date. I mean, it's been that long, Anna. Like,
Are you
probably more than
serious?
7 years.
I read that and I was like, what is she talking
No.
about? 7 years?
No, I'm not like, and I'm not talking about like just drinks or something casual. I mean, like someone is like, I want to take you out and I want to have a date experience with you. I want to get to, like, that's what this was. And I have not had one of those. I mean, Anna, no joke. I feel like a lot of women haven't even had that, like, ever. They're used to kind of like maybe going to the clubs, you meet someone, you hook up or whatever, but really actually dating. I love that, like, so many women that are different age ranges in our group, like, are like, this is kind of like the first time we're actually kind of dating. Like, how do, we're asking so many questions that seem so basic or even so like adolescent, because we weren't dating. Like, I just didn't have that experience. So I had my first, and it was an incredible date. Now I knew I knew what I was available for and what I wasn't available for. I knew what I wanted to feel. And he and I we were really open and talked about it. And he was gracious, such a gentleman, but we just didn't have that connection. And I didn't feel the things that I knew I wanted to feel. And it didn't need to happen right away. We kind of gave it some space and some time, but it was just a beautiful experience. And I had never had that kind of experience where nothing was demanded of me. I got to be my full self. I got to show up as just Patrice. I'm a little bit goofy, as you guys can see. I'm a little bit silly. That's a part of my little feminine flavor. Apparently, guys love it. Certain guys love it. I'm here for it. I was telling Anna at the beginning of this call, but I'll just share this. I had a great weekend. This past weekend, I went to a country line dance, a country two-step, I partner dance, and a little bit of salsa too. But I went by myself, and I go to dance places by myself often. But this weekend, and we had done a big workshop in the program, boundaries and all the things. And so, we're feeling all just like, hey. And I just went there, and nothing was kind of, happening at first. I just, got something to eat, bop, bop, bop. And then all of a sudden it was like all the men started to come out of the woodwork, and met some incredible guys, got to dance with some sweet guys. But I was just kind of feeling like, wow, there's only one of me. Like, wow, we're like, I went from a drought to like, this feels like I felt like a waterfall, like on this weekend. And it was, and I didn't need to be in a relationship. I wasn't looking for a relationship. I was just looking to, like, enjoy myself being a woman and being treated like feeling like I was in my feminine essence and having masculine men, say really kind things to me and feeling the freedom that they could. I wasn't giving off this air of like, I love how you say like, don't be on your cell phone all the time. Eye contact, smile a little bit if you want, and be present. But because of the tools that I've been doing now for the past 6 months, it's feeling much more embodied and much more. I know in the beginning it could feel very much like this doesn't feel like am I pretending? Am I impostering this whole thing? And then something does shift. And I'm not consistent, a lot of times with flows, and I can tell when I'm not. It makes a difference. But man, the thing that I asked that I wanted to or what I said I wanted to feel in the discovery call, right, was rest and to stop pushing. I wanted to feel that with my man, but here's the kicker. I feel that now, like in my body, like I can feel like more rested and more surrendered. And I shifted like even how I work behind the scenes, like things that I would try to pummel my way through. I just kind of lean back and I was like, well, let's just see how this is going to work out now. Or let's see what other people want to bring to the table. And oddly enough, more things are falling into place. Learning to lean back more, surrender. It's not just benefiting my love life. It's benefiting how my work life as well. And even so much so like the coaching that I mentioned that I was doing for women for the past 3 years, in this small business area is now shifted to relationship and purpose, like them sort of walking in that space and knowing how to hold that space as well. And so I did not want to do any of that. Like, I was like, what is even happening? But that's what started to feel right as well. So that's.
Yeah. And we hear this all the time, Patrice, because this is not about men. I mean, obviously it is, because that's what you come here for. But, it's like, give them what what is that? Tell them what they want. Give them what they need, kind of a situation,
Yeah.
Because the men are just the quality of men you attract are just the reflection of you and your life and all. And what I love about, I actually didn't think about this, and that's why I love talking to women who are inside the program, because you give me just a different insight or perspective, because I haven't walked in. I wish I was in your shoes, but I'm not. I'm on the other side, and so. It's really beautiful how you say we have not dated properly, and now after doing this work, because, our module 4, which is all about men, is just in week, like towards the end of the second half of the program, right?
Uh-huh.
We're not even talking. Yep. And, once women join, you've seen those when women join, they're like, how do I do on this date? Or what do I say? And I'm like, whoa. This is not that kind of a program, This is like, let's do the work and some deep excavation. Then when you're ready. But some women choose to, and they're like, all right, do your flow and all of that. But I think you're right. I didn't think about this, Patrice, but you're right. Like, what is dating? Nobody's teaching us how to do this properly. Nobody. And of course, you have layers and layers of beliefs and constrictions. And as you said, all these fears and not enough and pushing, striving. And and that's why I love doing this work, because I know when a woman is in her body, she's not in her head. She has discovered her feminine flavor. Everything shifts. And I always say, what a gift. What a gift to give to men, and what a different experience. And I love that you said, with this guy, it didn't really work out, like it doesn't have to, but the experience that you have where it's like not just like, all right, swiping left, right, maybe I should have a strategy, always end up with a question. Here's my profile. And it's kind of like, that's why it's so draining and yucky, and a lot of women say like, I hate dating, I'm so burned out. Well, you're burned out, because it's like like if you're telling me that, you should not be dating, because what kind of energy you're bringing into the date. So I love that you're saying that, because women are indeed experiencing like what it is properly to date a man. And it doesn't mean that we always say, come to the date without the question, is he my next husband? Where is this going to go? Just have fun, be present, laugh. Like, your personality is coming out, right? Like your flavor and your flavor. And we always say this in the program, like, how different is your flavor to mine? And that's what's so beautiful, because men, oh my God, I'm reading this book about seduction. It's a bit sleazy, but I got to share this with you. And then I have one last question and we're going to finish.
Okay. All right.
I actually, I'm constantly discovering this work, and the more I read from the male
Yeah.
perspective, I was like reading the other day, I told String, this is so interesting because the guy was saying that men get attracted to many, many women. Men walk on the street, and I'm like, what's the percent? I'm like, say, String, we're lying in bed. I'm like, how many women did you say, percentage-wise, you were attracted to on a well, okay, not on date. He didn't answer this question because we were like married. I was like, all right, before me, because you're not attracted
Exactly.
to anyone else anymore. For
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
I'm like 50%. He's like, well, maybe a little bit less, but what a reality a man lives. A man is literally attracted to a lot of women. He just walks on the street and he's attracted to them. He doesn't even know you, Patrice. He's attracted to you because you're a woman.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's different.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, what a different reality for a woman. I walk on the street. I can see cute guys,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean I'm attracted to them. Like, I don't want to like get to know you better and like get into your pants or take you on a date. But that's not, but men, like, what and for us, I remember I asked this question in the Facebook group about your relationship to the penis or sex or whatever. And a lot of women said, for me, it all depends on the emotional connection that I have with the guy.
There you go.
So what a different reality men and women live in their attraction. Like, wow, you walk through life attracted to a lot of women every day. You just walk.
Yep.
You walk into a meeting, you walk into a grocery store, you just walk around and you're constantly attracted. And guess what? Some of them produce a physical reaction in your body. And in fact, you should kind of like, hide it and go somewhere, especially on the beach. Like, forget about that. But we don't have that. We're just like, hello, I need to have a conversation first with you or feel into your energy before I even consider being attracted to you, Wow. Anyways. All right. Well, Patrice, we're going to finish this here. I love our conversation. It's been one of my favorite interviews. So we're going to finish with, for all the women listening who are feeling a pull and are feeling, but are scared or a bit skeptical or whatever, to pull the trigger, to sign up for a free discovery call, and then obviously enroll into the program. What would you tell them? Why would you recommend going for it, doing it, enrolling into the program, and then doing the work?
That's such a great question. I'm just going to, I think two things that I'll say. Like, one, when is the last time that you took a risk? Because now might be the time maybe to take a risk. But two, something that was just coming up as you were talking to me, Anna, was, I know you mentioned that, some of the women might not, might be scared or might not be ready yet or feel like they're not fully ready yet. But I think for me, I didn't feel like I was all the way ready to even join the program, but I felt like I was ready to feel safe and feminine and loved and adored and all those things. Like, I was ready for that. And so if you, beautiful, gorgeous woman who's listening to this, is thinking like, should I do this? I would just ask the question, like, do you want to feel more safe, or do you want to feel safe and loved, adored? Do you want to feel beautiful in your own body? Do you want to feel connected to your femininity? And I think if you can answer yes to that, then I would say you might want to take that next step and do this program. Because for me personally, that's another big thing that was life-changing, I think, for me, Anna, was feeling safe in my own body and really honoring and loving my body in a way that I've not been able to love my body. And I didn't hate my body, honestly, before this program. I didn't hate it. Like, your girl knows what she's working with. I was like, okay, you cute. But like, now there's just a different type of honor and appreciation that I have for my body. And I feel safe in it, which I think that'll resonate with some women. Some women, maybe that doesn't necessarily hit the place in your heart or your essence. But like, for those women that were like me, maybe, and just in situationships and not feeling all the way safe with men and just needing help, not knowing how to do this thing and how to really, what does it feel like to be feminine for you? and not knowing what that really feels and how you can walk in that, then I would say you have to, if you don't know, this program will actually give you the tools so that you will find out and know. And then, yes, you should do that.
Woohoo! Yeah, beautiful. Because it all starts with you. We always say, how can you feel safe with a man if you don't feel safe in your body? You have to build those reservoirs within you and your system so that then, because a lot of women are like, oh, I'm going to, I need a man. I want a man to feel safe. No, you got to feel safe in your body. You got to feel first safe, feminine, adored, taken care of, give you everything that you want to feel with a man first, so that when you show up with a man, he doesn't feel like you need anything from him. He doesn't feel like there's any expectation. And then he meets you in that beautiful space of wholeness and sovereignty. He meets you with his masculine and he's like, wow, I just want to give everything to this woman because she's not asking anything of me. I just want to give. So anyways, we're going to finish off here. Patrice, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. I really appreciate it. Can't wait to release this interview. And we'll see you inside the group and inside the program.
All right. Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much.
Thank you.